defense. So in many cases, their silence allows the predator to go free. Normally, First Coast News does not identify the victims of sexual abuse, but a Jacksonville man wanted others to see his face and know his name, so victims know it's okay to speak out, no matter how long that may take.
I continue to heal every day. You know, I'm not 100%, and whether I'll ever reach that, I don't know.
When Rick Dellinger was a 7-year-old growing up in Fairfield County, Connecticut, he lost something every child has, his innocence.
We had a neighbor that was quickly a very good friend, would come over for barbecues.
Dellinger says there was a man who lived near him who was friendly to all the kids in the neighborhood, someone his parents trusted, someone he trusted too.
And it started out with the trains and the fascination of, that's what all little boys like, we love trains. And it went from trains to pornography, and from pornography it went to sexual abuse.
Too young to know what to do, he became a victim of a crime that affects countless children. Working away at Florida State College of Jacksonville, the graphic design student created this video to raise awareness about childhood sexual abuse.
I realized that this was something that I could relate to.
Geez, it's such a common problem.
Dr. Lynn Waddleton is a clinical psychologist in Ponte Vedra. She doesn't know Rick Dellinger, but says his story of childhood sexual abuse could be anyone's.
Probably would say I've had probably hundreds of people who have been at some level a victim of this.
She says no child is able to protect himself from an abuser, that even the youngest victims who can't understand sexual abuse will in some way carry the crime with them their entire lives.
Bottom line, people who do this to children are pros at it.
Dellinger says his abuse went on for a year, but another 25 years would pass before he'd find the strength to tell his story.
One of the big issues that keeps it quiet is this sense of shame.
Might find out.
You never said anything to your parents?
No.
Why?
I knew that if I told either A, somebody wouldn't believe me, or B, that I would get him in trouble.
The turning point for him came in 2007, when his own son turned 7 years old.
To be able to see him at the age that I was when I was abused, I was able to see that there is that innocence.
Now 36, Dellinger knows he did something most victims never do by coming forward.
The reported sexual assaults are just the tip of the iceberg.
As the state attorney's division chief for special assaults, Alan Mizrahi supervises all sex crime cases in Duval County. The hardest part of their job is getting victims to report the incidents.
The more victims we have, the better our case is. So a lot of times, if all we have is one victim, our case is not as strong as it could have been with 2, 3, 4, even more victims.
Time ran out for Dellinger. In Connecticut, where his abuse took place, victims have only 5 years from the date of the incident to report it.
No,
Though
that's not
Dellinger
true.
won a civil lawsuit against his abuser, the man could not be criminally prosecuted.
So he was never on any kind of sexual offenders list or predators list. But I know that there were probably at least 8 of us that would go over to his house.
Similar limitations once existed in Florida, but in 2003, legislators modified laws to allow prosecution for the vast majority of child sexual abuse. Today in Florida, there is no time limit for reporting a case.
The sooner any victim comes forward, the better the case will be against the perpetrator.
But without immediate reporting, seeking justice becomes even more difficult. Evidence becomes lost with time, memories remain repressed, and predators remain free. And that is where Dellinger is picking up the fight.
It's a powerful message. I mean, it really is.
He may always be a statistic, but Dellinger says now he refuses to be a quiet one.
Come forward. You know, that you're not alone. If one person can see it and say, you know, maybe I should come forward, then that's great. My goal would be to help somebody else.
To this day, Dellinger's abuser denies his guilt. But when Dellinger produced letters written by that man detailing those actions, the man settled with him for $500,000. Dellinger said it was never about the money, but about reducing those statistics, and that's what this video he made shows. And prosecutors say the state of Florida has actually come pretty far in protecting children in cases like this.
You know, even though he's a grown man now, that is still very brave for Mr. Dellinger to do. So.
That had to be tough. All right. Thank you, Jim.
Psychologists say there are warning signs of abuse that you can spot in children. Notice any sudden changes in children's behavior if they become, say, withdrawn or quiet, or if they refuse to go certain places. Try to find out why. Dr. Lynn Walderton says some children respond to sexual abuse with anger. Some develop sleep problems or just seem depressed.
Keep your eyes open and pay attention. And I think that's one of the biggest risk factors for having a child be abused is when family members don't have a clear set of boundaries for what's appropriate with each other, and they're not terribly good supervisors of certainly if substance abuse is going on in a family, or if the family's just overly trusting.
We have suggestions for talking to children about abuse on firstcoastnews.com. You can also find some other resources recommended by professionals.
Did it feel hotter than usual outside today? For 2 days now, we